I had been away on a 3-day business trip. When I came back, I found two massive dump trucks parked in my side yard. 40 tons of steel, the roar of heavy machinery, and the grass I had carefully maintained for 7 years now crushed under thick industrial mud and debris. No one had asked for permission. No note had been left behind. And apparently, no one even considered that this land actually belonged to me. Before we go any further, comment below and let me know where in the world are you watching this from. I really want to see which corner of the world this story has reached. Because what happened next taught me exactly how far some people will go when they assume your property is theirs, and how far an ordinary person can push back while staying completely within the law. I had been away for 3 days on a business trip, expecting nothing more than the usual calm of my suburban neighborhood. But the moment I pulled into my driveway, I froze. My side yard, my pride and joy for the past 7 years, was no longer the neat stretch of grass I had painstakingly maintained. Instead, two massive dump trucks were parked squarely across it. 40 tons of steel, dirt, and industrial debris sat atop the lawn, leaving deep ruts that could twist an ankle. My carefully installed irrigation system had been flattened in several spots, and a dark, sticky industrial fluid oozed from beneath one of the trucks, staining the soil. I stood there for a full minute, simply staring. I had no clue who had done this or why, and the sheer audacity of parking on private property without notice left me in disbelief. Nobody had asked, nobody had left a note, just the loud, unforgiving presence of machines sitting right where they shouldn't have been. As I tried to process the scene, my neighbor, Linda Ramos, appeared. She was checking her mailbox, but stopped when she saw my expression. "Oh, hi," she said hesitantly. "The HOA, they arranged for the trucks. It's part of the new community entrance renovation. Carol mentioned it in the last board meeting. She thought using your lot would save on staging costs." Her tone was apologetic, but the words carried no real comfort. I nodded silently, thanked her, and walked inside. I did not raise my voice. I did not storm over to confront Carol Martin, the HOA president. Instead, I went to my home office, pulled open my filing cabinet, and retrieved two crucial documents: my property deed and the HOA bylaws I had received 7 years ago when I purchased the house. The deed was crystal clear. I owned 4 acres, including the side yard where the trucks now sat. The plat map showed the boundary line running 18 feet from my fence, entirely within my property. The HOA bylaws were equally specific. Section 12 stated that no community project could utilize private property without written consent from the owner. I had given no consent. I had received no request. I grabbed my phone and began documenting everything. For the next 20 minutes, I took 47 photographs from multiple angles: the tire ruts, the crushed irrigation heads, the industrial fluid spreading over the soil, and even the license plates of the trucks. Every timestamp would matter later, though I didn't yet know how much. That evening, I called Carol Martin. She picked up on the third ring, her voice brisk and professional. I calmly identified myself and asked about the trucks. She replied without hesitation, "It's for the community project. Your lot has the space. We'll be done in a few weeks." I asked whether she had requested my permission. There was a pause. "I don't believe that was necessary," she said. "It's community work." I ended the call, not with frustration, but with resolve. If she refused to acknowledge my rights voluntarily, I would have to build an irrefutable case. The morning after securing my side yard, I sat down at my desk, sipping coffee while reviewing the photographs I had taken. Each tire rut, each crushed irrigation head, every smear of industrial mud documented the unauthorized occupation of my property. I opened the files again, comparing them side by side with the property deed and HOA bylaws. Everything lined up perfectly. My land, my rights, my responsibility,
and now the burden of proving that to an association accustomed to assuming control. I began to organize the evidence meticulously. I labeled each photograph with a number, timestamp, and description. Photo 1, front left tire rut. Photo 2, industrial residue with ruler for scale. Photo 3, crushed sprinkler heads. I even documented the license plates of each truck, noting fleet numbers and identifying marks tying them directly to Martin Excavation Services, the contractor. Every detail mattered. 2 days later, I called Carol Martin again. I remained calm and precise. "Carol," I said, "I need clarification on the trucks parked in my side yard. Were any permissions requested or granted?" Her reply was dismissive. "It's for the community project. Your lot has the space. We'll be done soon." I asked again, pressing politely but firmly, whether she had formally requested my permission. There was a pause. "I don't think that was necessary," she said. "It's community work." I ended the call, not with frustration but with resolve. If she refused to acknowledge my rights voluntarily, I would have to build an irrefutable case. Over the next few days, a licensed surveyor confirmed all vehicles sat entirely within my property lines. I documented the surveyor's report, took photographs of survey markers, and stored every file with a backup copy. Public records revealed Martin Excavation Services was owned by Greg Martin, Carol's husband. No line item existed for lot rental. Carol had unilaterally used my property to save her husband money, without disclosure. By now, I had a complete file. Photographs, survey results, email exchanges, public records, and notes on every phone call. I created a timeline. Day 1, trucks appeared. Day 8, backhoe arrived. Day 10, irrigation line damaged. Day 12, letters sent. The timeline transformed chaos into documented facts. I drafted a certified letter demanding vehicle removal within 72 hours. She signed for it 2 days later. Minor developments continued to be documented. Neighbors whispered, but my response remained private. Social pressure is often neutralized by silence and preparation. By Thursday morning, the 72-hour deadline ended precisely at 9 a.m. The trucks remained. I had hired a fencing company to erect 6-foot temporary panels with a locked gate. A sign read, "Private property. Vehicles are parked without authorization. Contact the property owner for retrieval." Greg Martin arrived first, confused and increasingly panicked. Carol followed, shouting, demanding I open the gate. I calmly displayed the surveyor's certificate, showing all vehicles entirely on my property. Officer Daniel Reeves arrived, reviewed my documentation, inspected the fenced perimeter, and confirmed this was a civil matter. Vehicles were unauthorized, no law had been broken, and I had acted within my rights. Carol's frustration reached its peak, yet there was nothing she could do. Emma had recorded the encounter, preserving a crucial visual record of the confrontation. By the end of the day, my property was secure, legally and physically. I had created an irrefutable record demonstrating the seriousness and legality of my actions. Preparation, documentation, and adherence to law had done what shouting and demands could not. 63 residents filled a clubhouse meant for 40. Carol Martin accused me of sabotaging the project and proposed a fine. I calmly presented 3 documents: surveyor's certificate confirming vehicles on my property, Carol's email admitting no permission was sought, project contract listing Martin Excavation Services. I asked who owned the contractor. Silence. I revealed Greg Martin, Carol's husband, showing a clear conflict of interest. Cheryl Ramos confirmed it was undisclosed. I played Emma's video, capturing Carol's futile confrontation with the officer. The room watched in disbelief. Carol stormed out. Greg followed. The board voted 4-1 against the fine and approved an investigation into the contract. The HOA lost credibility and accountability prevailed. Within 6 weeks, I recovered $2,700 for documented damages. Trucks were removed within 72 hours, and Cheryl implemented new policies requiring written consent for use of private property. The yard was restored, justice served, and the HOA board began operating with transparency. The yard was fully restored, sod replaced, soil decontaminated, irrigation repaired. Cheryl's policy ensured no future unauthorized use. Documentation, evidence, and patience had won. I stood at the driveway edge, watching Emma hand me a glass of water. "Was it worth it?" she asked. I nodded. Every boundary has a law that protects it. Sometimes you just have to make sure it's visible. The trucks never returned. The assumption that my land was anyone else's vanished. Rights, preparation, and persistence had triumphed. The HOA learned that entitlement cannot override the law, and my property and peace of mind was finally secure.